Hello, everybody. I'm Victoria Longo, and this is the weekly Friday at 5. And today's topic is when the honeymoon period is over, when the honeymoon phase is over. I had grown up hearing, the first 6 months of a relationship are super lovey-dovey and you're really into each other. And then after those 6 months, things just naturally fade. And after that honeymoon phase, you become more friends, right? And more comfortable around each other. The butterflies tend to settle down, the excitement wears off, and so this is more of the normal state of the relationship. At least that was the way that I had always interpreted the end of this honeymoon phase. And so in prior relationships, when that happened, I was like, well, this is what to expect. Whatever drew me to the relationship, it's waning. And so we're going to make the best of it. I'm really talking myself into the relationship. And what I realized after the fact is that the relationship itself was not a good fit. When I actually found a partner who matched what I required from a relationship, it kind of changed things. And so this is where I'm going to focus on. If you are settling in a relationship, if you are somebody who has, talked yourself into a relationship or made the relationship more important than yourself or your partner, these tips might not change things. And it's because the relationship itself is forced. And so it takes a lot of effort to maintain it, and it takes a lot of work. So give it a try. If this does, sound like what you're experiencing, maybe it works. But this topic is going to focus more on people who really do have that connection, who do have that bond, because the relationship itself becomes easier when we are approaching it from that space, from the space of we actually enjoy our partner, we appreciate them, we love them, and we are in love with them. And there's no question, that maybe there's somebody better, maybe there's something else possible. And again, this has been my experience, because when I met somebody who fit all of my needs for the relationship, those questions of like, could it be different, faded away, because I really had what I needed and what I wanted. Now, does that mean that I never think of anybody else or having it a different way? I would say for the most part, I really don't. Jason Momoa not included in that. But for the most part, I don't really wonder what it's like with anybody else, because I have had other relationships that didn't work and I always wished it would be different. And so now that I've actually made the conscious effort to create what works, it's more enjoyable and it does work. But we still go through that, initially there were butterflies and the excitement and the attraction is more intense. And as things fade and years go by and it's 5 years and coming up on 10 years or even longer than that, it does require a bit more effort to make that connection. But I think it's so important because when we get into the habit of not touching our partner, of pushing them away, of kicking them out of our lives sexually, for whatever reason, it deteriorates that bond that we experience, because there are hormones that are exchanged when we're hugging somebody or when we're intimate with somebody, and they keep that connection. That's what makes this relationship different than any other relationship that you have. Is you're not, most people aren't intimate with all of their friends, right? They're not sleeping with all of their friends and making out with them. They've got one person who they have that connection with, and then they have other people that meet other needs, on the friendship level. And so, I think it's really important to maintain that bond and maintain that connection, because one, if you don't have that and you're not meeting, if you and your partner are not even having sex and it's been years, again, I mentioned this before, it's like, why are you even together? I mean, most people, that's a basic human need. It's a basic human desire. We bastardized it in this society. It appalls me that it's so commonplace to see violence and killing somebody and shooting somebody, but God forbid there's two people making out. God forbid there's two people that are intimate. It's like we are so desensitized to pain and suffering, but we can't experience that emotional connection. And it just, again, it's something that I can't wrap my head around, because that emotional connection is so fulfilling and so nurturing when it's with somebody that you care about. So, when the honeymoon phase is over, it does take some work to maintain it. Now, a couple of things that I've noticed for myself is when I let myself go, and that was one of the number one things in my last relationship that I realized is once we were committed and once we were together, I felt that I didn't really have to work anymore, right? I already had this person in my life. I didn't have to convince them that, why they should be with me over anybody else. It was like we had already made that commitment. We were already living together. And so, I did the winter not shaving and the stop working out. And, I know I've mentioned this in prior videos, but things that I actually, that made me feel good, I let go because I had a partner. So why even bother, right? But the reason why it was important for me to bother is because it directly related to my self-esteem. If I wasn't feeling attractive, and for me personally, if I've got hairy legs and I'm, not working out and I'm putting on extra weight, I feel gross. And, some people, if you are, the natural hair movement, that's fine. That's what works for you. For me, again, in my own experience, if I'm letting certain things go, not eating right, indulging in, takeout and nachos and, sitting on the couch and we're watching movies and, we're comfortable. My show's on and I got to see that, and I'm making those more of a priority. It doesn't make me feel good. It really is just a distraction for me. And so when I put the effort into actually taking care of myself and doing what I enjoy doing, and people are like, well, I hate working out. Yes, I actually hate working out. I hate the gym. I don't have a gym membership, but there's a lot I can do at home that's not necessarily working out and still taking care of my body and still taking care of me and making me feel better about myself and making me feel strong. And for me, that's way more important than the aesthetic of looking good because I'm working out. It's how I feel inside. And so that was one of the ways that in this, in my current relationship, that I made sure to not let those things go just because my partner and I now had a committed relationship and that we had decided to be together. So those were things that it was super important for me to maintain for myself. And the plus side is, I'm still feeling attractive. So when he wants to compliment me and let me know, how attractive he's finding me, then I'm able to receive it. Because if I'm not feeling attractive, it's like, yeah, you're just lying. Oh, you're joking. Yeah, you're thanks for nothing. And it's pushing it away versus really allowing it to come in. Because yeah, I am feeling really good. Thank you for noticing, right? So that's one of my biggest tips, is to not, whatever your thing is, and if you don't have a thing, YouTube is so plentiful with free 10-minute workouts. And that's literally what I do almost every day, is at mine are 20 minutes, but still, I don't do a lot. I do a lot of walking and maybe 20 minutes of core related activity, and that's it. So it's been really important for me to keep that up, to keep that connection going. Now, it's also important just to keep that connection going with my partner, to make time for us, to set aside that time. And yes, sometimes it has to be creative. And yes, sometimes it's only a half hour together before we're both running, versus spending an entire day together. But that half hour means more than letting it go because we don't have time, because we are creatures of habit. So if we give up or if we get into the habit of, we need to go to bed early, I want to watch the show before bed, I want to sleep in the morning, and we're saying no to our partner because of all of these things, we're going to build that habit where we're not connecting with our partner. And then it's going to be awkward, and it's going to take a lot more work to reignite that connection between us. And it's going to be like dating all over again, because we've lost that bond. Even though we've shared so many experiences, it's like we're strangers, and it's awkward to be touched, and it's awkward to be together. But if our partner is important enough to us that we want them in our lives, then I think it's important enough to actually make that effort to keep that connection going, to keep that relationship, or to keep that bond going in our relationship. It's because, again, why be in a relationship where you don't have that? You can have lots of friends. Now, some people maybe are okay with companionship. Some people maybe are asexual and they just don't have that desire. And so if you are somebody that this is working for, awesome. But if you're somebody who does have needs and you're afraid to express them, and you're afraid to be vulnerable, and you haven't been in so long because you've gotten into the habit of making everything else in life a priority, then maybe you want to look at changing that and, start small. It doesn't have to be big, but start setting aside time. Maybe go away for a weekend, and then make sure to reintegrate in your daily life so that you're able to maintain that, because it's easier to keep it going. It's easier to keep the habit going of being together than it is to try and rebuild it, try to reconnect, and get into the habit of letting it go. Right? And, I really feel for people who joke that it's like, looking forward to my birthday or our anniversary, because that's like the 2 times a year that we're going to get laid. It's like, oh, what are you doing? I mean, how are you? There's so many ways we can numb ourselves because we're not experiencing what we need or getting our needs met, by overeating, by distracting ourselves with TV, by pretending, but we're not fulfilled inside, because this really is so important to a relationship, right? So yes, again, you might have to be creative. Yes, you might have to be, have sex in the middle of the afternoon instead of at night before bed when you're tired, or have sex in the morning. And for people who are like, oh, it's so gross, morning breath, go brush your teeth first. You can either have your excuses and your reasons why not, or you can do it. Well, literally do it. But, you either have your excuses in your life and your reasons and justifications why you can't do something, or you actually do it. And it applies across all areas, not just relationships. But again, if you found somebody who really fulfills on, what you require from a relationship in this life, I think it's so important to appreciate them, let them know. Because again, we get so focused on the negativity and the violence. And again, that's what's been perpetuated in our society. It's gross to see people kissing and to see people hugging and, PDA, and we don't want to see it. And, it's not normal. And it's really sad that we've gotten to that state. And again, this is my own personal opinion, but I would much rather see 2 people in love and really caring and appreciating for each other than 2 people tearing each other down, 2 people who are miserable, 2 people who are unfulfilled because they're not getting their needs met. So, keep that. It's not going to be a honeymoon phase. It's not going to be, always rainbows and butterflies, because that does fade. But if you have that deep appreciation, that love, that respect for your partner, isn't it worth it to show them and allow them to experience that? Because again, it's 2 people having a relationship. And rather than getting into the habit of things that don't support you and support what you want and lead to, drama and stress and frustration and being dissatisfied, why not be in something that really does fully honor, support, satisfy, and fill you up? So those are my tips, is whatever makes you feel good, build your self-esteem, build your self-confidence, do it. Don't let those things go. If it's getting your hair done, if it's, making sure your nails are done, whatever things you did before the relationship that you let go because now you have somebody, so you don't have to worry about it. Maybe that's why you did it, but if you look deeper, did it actually help you feel better about yourself? And if it did, do that. Make time, make it a priority, because when you're feeling better, again, you're able to actually receive attention from your partner. And then number 2 is take time to maintain that connection and be creative. And, I love surprises. And so I try to plan some surprises because they're fun and they're exciting and they're different and it shakes up the routine. So if you're in a routine, try something new. I mean, what do you have to lose? Now, if things have been really rough and rocky in your partnership and there's been a lot of fighting and a lot of tension, and your partner comes home and you're in a negligee or, half naked, and you're saying like, hey, surprise, let's do this. It's probably not going to be received so well. And it has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with the dynamics of where the relationship has been at. So if that's where you're starting from, maybe it's much better to show up with flowers or a flower and just say, I really appreciate you, and I realized that I hadn't acknowledged it in a really long time, and I'm sorry about that. So this is my token of appreciation. And leave it. Maybe they yell and don't believe you and criticize you for even that, but you don't have to fight back. You could just be like, I know I've been a shithead and I'm sorry. And I really just wanted to show it, and then do it again and do it again and do it again. And again, it's going to take work, but if it's important to you, then why not? Because otherwise the alternative is actually losing the relationship, right? Risking that, or continuing as is, which, I stayed in a relationship for way too long, and I know how frustrating it was and how I felt inside and how it was eating me up inside, right? And so to imagine going on like that for year after 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 year, it's not going to get any better unless somebody actually does something. So, I hope these tips do help you. If you are experiencing a dry spell, or if you're experiencing that loss of connection, that loss of intimacy, I'd be curious to hear, how they worked for you. So feel free to shoot me an email or comment below on this video. But next week's topic is going to be expectations, assumptions, and communication. And I feel like I can't talk about this topic enough. And this goes across the board, not just in partners, but in any interaction with anybody, whether there's a relationship established or not. This is so, so crucial. So please be sure to like this video if you like this video, subscribe to my channel so that you can get updated on new videos when they appear. Right now it's every Friday at 5. They'll be uploaded, and so you can get notified of that. And if you want some help navigating your own relationship and some tips on how to work it out or what to do, I do have packages available for my Relationship Reimagined program, where we recreate just that, and we look into what's going on and what we can do and what do you even want. So if that's something you're interested in, again, you can shoot me an email, victoria@victorialongo.net, and I look forward to chatting with you next week. Have a great weekend.